Energy weapons. Alrighty, biology. Getting ready to rock here. Boom. Okay, this is your practice test that we took on Thursday. It's right after school. I'm kind of getting ready to go over some of the questions that you did yesterday and got back. Well, you probably watched this Friday, which is today. Some of you might even watch tonight. Super rad. Anyway, I want to go over each question. I'm going to spend more time on questions that have a higher number next to them. So those were the amount of percent, I should say, the percent of students that missed each question. So like 41, or number 4, we missed 81% of the time. So 8 out of 10 of us missed it. Yep. I'm going to do my best, okay? So I got data now. I have numbers. I have facts that I can work with that tell me what I can do for you to get you ready for Monday and Tuesday. And I will stop at nothing, okay? There's nothing more important to me, really, realistically, than your grades, okay? I mean, you could probably say, Mr. Ivan, it's probably a lie. Yeah, maybe, okay? But it's really important. Let's put it that way. All right, let's get started here. Let me just make sure I'm all up and running. Okay, all right, let's draw. All right, what am I drawing here? What is that? Okay, we'll say that's an alien fetus. That's terrible. Okay, alien fetus. Actually, you don't even need to draw an alien fetus because when you're a fetus, you look like an alien. Okay, you really do. Okay, you look like a weird fish, but we'll talk about that later. All right, my stylus is working. Let's get cracking. Before you even think about taking the test on Tuesday, do not take the test. You can't like say, Mr. I'm not taking it today, so I guess do not come to the test without knowing every one of these words, okay? That's a number, Mr. Ivan. You circled the number. I get it. Yeah, I'm serious. There's some questions you can miss, and it's like, okay, I can see where you missed that. But don't be unprepared, okay? Not knowing what a habitat is just lack of preparation. It has nothing to do with how hard my test is. If you never knew what a habitat really was, it doesn't matter how easy or hard the question is, okay? So that's what you can do, okay, is know every word, every vocab word. Make sure it's brainwashed, memorized. All right, with that in mind, these are taken a little further than just brainwash memory. Okay, you got to identify which one this is. So, sea stars live in a saltwater ecosystem. So, all right, some species live in shallow tidal pools. All right, and southern live in deepest parts of the ocean. This is a description of the blank of the sea stars. What is it really describing? It's specifically describing what specific spots they live in. So the saltwater lake is your ecosystem, okay, the big ocean. All right, but sea stars don't live everywhere in the ocean. Where do they specifically live? Shallow tidal pools or the deepest parts of the oceans. Hey, what's up, Zach? Oh, just making a video. All right, sorry, a little talk with Zach. He's one of the maintenance guys here. He's awesome. So you're going to see Zach after school. Say hi to him. He's a cool guy. Anyway, we're looking at specific places they live. So that is a habitat. Okay, so number 1 is a habitat. Like the habitat of the meerkats is in the burrows. It's not necessarily the desert, it's the burrows in the desert. Okay, so it's a little more specific. We'll get to niche here in a second. Number 2, I did not grade because I didn't make this question, all right? And I like to make my own, but they want me to use more book questions here now. I don't like them. I would wanted niche, but I totally could see community. I can't see habitat. That's wrong. If you put A, it's wrong. But then I asked someone, why did you put D, none of the above? And I said, what word were you looking for? And she said, this is the description of the prey of the cougars, which is right. This is what they're eating. So I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of things you could put in here. Bad question. Niche is what it does. What's its role in the ecosystem? And I was thinking the cougars are predators. They often eat weakened or diseased animals. So even though they're weakened or diseased, they still have energy. And this energy is best when it's recycled. Okay, so it can go back into the food chain. So they're putting diseased animals back into the food chain. So I thought that was a niche. But it also describes community. Community is the interactions of the living things. So we're talking about cougars and diseased, weakened animals. That's multiple species interacting. So that's community. So I threw it out. When in doubt, I throw it out. All right, that's my philosophy. If there's doubt, I throw it out. Because I don't want to say there's only one right way to think. That's stupid. All right, I encourage you to think freely. All right, that's how brainwashing occurs in society. I don't want that. Anyway, an ecologist who studies how several species in an area interact among each other with the abiotic. Okay, so species. We just did species with your little creature project. So hopefully you know what that means. That's a living. Living with abiotic, non-living. So right now, I'll be honest. If you don't know what abiotic is, you need to get cranking. Okay, we did it a lot. Abiotic means non-living. So living plus non-living is ecosystem. This question I also directly took right off one of the quizzes. Okay, so you should have got, 42% of us missed it. That means 42% of us, I don't know where you were when we went over the quiz, but that's why it's a practice test, so don't get discouraged, all right? Some of you are going to really be discouraged when you see your score and it says like 50 or even 30. I got some in the 20s, even got some in the teens. I know it's hard not to be discouraged, but remember, this is why I do this, okay? Because I expect people to do poorly, and I'm doing these kind of things to help you, because I know you can do it. I really do. I wouldn't give you things. I've done this before, okay? You guys are just as smart as any student groups that I've had, so there's no reason we can't do it. Anyway, number 4, 81% of us missed this guy, and I know why. It's worded differently, okay? We've done this before, but you didn't know how to interpret it. So don't go into robot mode, okay? All right, so how can I explain this? We start with 10,000. Let's go down to figure 2-1, okay? Whenever you get a question like this, always go through the sequence. So we got 10,000 in the plants. That means 10% moves on. So there's 1,000 in the mice or rodents or something like that. And then 10% goes to here, so there's only 100 in the cats, and then 10 in the coyotes. This is one of the harder things we're going to do. So this is where I expect most of us to miss our questions, but I'm hopeful we can get it. So now, 10% goes on. So a lot of us maybe thought, well, actually, I'm thinking a lot of us maybe thought there was 10. So once you saw that 10 wasn't an answer, you should have been like, 10 makes it. So only 10 of the 10,000 makes it into the bodies of the coyote. So if you started with 10,000, whoops, daisers. If you start with 10,000, there we go, and you end up with 10, how much did you lose? Okay, you lost 9,990 units of energy. So if you got that one right and didn't just guess, good job. Okay, that is one of the things I call like an A question, or a B, at least a B question. So this is a question that I don't expect my C students or the D students to necessarily get. But if you want to get up to an A, these are the kind of questions I want you to be able to answer. Okay, so if you missed it, and not all of us are going to get an A on this test. It's not necessarily realistic, but some of us it would be good to get a B. All right, and if you miss something like this, don't be discouraged. Okay, so this is something for people who really got it down, good at the math, and score an A. So keep that in mind as well. 5. All right, figure 2-1 again. Does matter energy move? We did all right. All right, we got 78% right. The amount of available energy decreases. All right, I need this one to go right. Okay, it's straightforward. We know that energy is lost as heat as we go up the food chain. Decreases and increases. Think about your answers. If you put that we never talked about that. And D just doesn't make any sense. I have no idea at all what that says. So when you get something like that, cross it out, because I didn't make this question, but I know how it goes. You got 4 options, A, B, C, and D, but there's really only 2, okay? It's either increase or decrease. So you got to make up 2 more options. So sometimes you have to make up something ridiculous to give yourself another option. It's hard to come up with good wrong answers, so don't get sucked into that. If you don't know what it says, don't pick it. All right. And number 6. Ooh, this was definitely one of our best questions. So good job, class. Only 16% of us missed it. Energy flows from the mice to the cats. All right, so very nice. So I'll make sure I try to get a couple of these kind of questions in here to reward our good work at that. So the arrow always points where the energy is going. A good test taking strategy also, this is not what I really want you to do, but sometimes you have to do this, is if 3 things are the same and 1 is different, your one that's different is probably right, because you can't pick 3. All right, so coyotes to grasses, okay? This is the I don't know the answer, so I'm going to work through it way. Coyotes to grasses, okay, that's the arrow going backwards. Cats to mice, arrow going backwards. Mice to cats, ooh, arrow going forward. And then coyotes to cats, arrow going backwards. So 3 are showing one direction, and 1 is going forward. So even though I didn't know anything about energy flow, I probably would have got this right, just because, well, if these 3 are all going one direction, and this one's going different, and I can only have one answer, it's probably the one going in that direction. That's not what I want you to get through them, but hey, you know what? Being resourceful sometimes is just as important as having knowledge, so be a good test taker, all right? Alrighty, next slide, next page. All right, slide 2. Matching. Matching gets us sometimes, all right? So matching will get us. I don't know if there's a great strategy to do matching. My strategy is if you know for sure one of these words and you know where it lines up to, so you know for sure, that's exactly that, put that in first, okay? Then do the ones that you're not sure about, okay? So that's my strategy. Dispersion, all right? Dispersion is how things are arranged in space. So how are creatures arranging themselves? There's 3 patterns: clumped, uniform, and uniform. Wait, clumped, uniform, random. Population density, habitat, niche, and limiting factor. So the easiest word is probably here. I'm going to guess habitat. Yeah, that was the best response. So go do habitat right away. Go find a habitat. Let's go find a habitat. A crab lives in decaying logs in a stream. Okay, so 9, I'm putting A. All right, 9, I'm putting A. Okay, because I got habitat down. I can cross it off. This, teaching you how to, good test-taking strategies is important. I think sometimes we know the stuff, we just choke up on a test, okay? So you're going to be taking tests your whole academic career, so I want to make sure you're good at it. So if I can help you with that, I want to. But you do well in life, it's important. Anyway, so what will be the next one? Well, let's see. Let's say niche. Okay, niche. Niche is the function or role that an organism plays. So let's go find the function or role. Oh, look out. Function or a role. Territorial is not a function, really. Deadly parasite spreads quickly. I could even say, you could argue to me C, but then you're going to be in trouble later. So you got to make sure that you don't run out of good answers matching, okay? So then you're left with something that doesn't make sense. That means you got to go back and fix it. But someone could argue that this is a niche for a parasite, but then you don't have anything for limiting factor. But anyway, niche, the role is B, okay? Right here, this is water lily. We saw this in class. This is the giant lilies in the Amazon. They were really awesome plants. That was your niche, okay? I mentioned that a couple times. I'm like, yeah, the water lilies are providing area for these birds to walk on and feed. They were eating insects. You take that plant away, and then these birds are going to have a harder time getting food because they provided such an easy way to eat insects. So, all right, we got niche down. Let's do limiting factor. Limiting factor is going to be one of the words I know is going to be getting us. This is one I expect to be lower. It's a concept. Okay, limit. Think limit. This is the most you can have. A limit is the upper level. Okay, so what is limiting a population from growing? Everything is different, okay? Fish have a different limiting factor than trees. So let's find something that would limit population growth. It doesn't sound, I could reason A. The limits is the trees. That's actually a decent example of a limiting factor, the amount of trees, but then you're in trouble for dispersion. So deadly parasite spreads quickly when population gets high. So when population gets high, this parasite starts killing more easily. That's going to limit population. So it's going to be C. Now, when I was helping people today, I think a lot of us, we put dispersion for this parasite because we saw the word spreads, and we kind of brainwashed ourselves to see spread and think of how things spread out, dispersion. So that's not a terrible logic, but that's a good limiting factor. So remember, you got to look at what you're left with, and if it makes sense with your matching. Matching is actually pretty tough. So this was actually pretty tough. Now that I'm doing it like this, this is tricky. So I'll try to give you some easier ones too on the test to balance that out. Population density, the amount per mile or the amount per forest. So we have 18 lions in 2 square miles. That's population density. Some of you might have even thought what that is. What is the population density? It's going to be 9 square miles. 9 square miles, so population density is D. And now that I think about it, my population density question didn't make it on here, so darn it, now I can't review it. So I'll have to make sure I go over that tomorrow. But I just did it now. 18 lions per 2 square miles, so each square mile has 9 lions. There you go. I just did it. So now we're left with dispersion. So here's a good test taking skill. There should only be one option left for dispersion. Check to see if it makes sense. If it does not make sense at all, then you probably did something wrong in the other ones. Dispersion, we're left with one male bird is territorial and lives only one per tree in a forest. I agree with that. Why? Hopefully you figured out what kind of dispersion pattern that was. Territorial, that means they don't like being around each other. They're going to spread out to avoid each other's company. They're not social. This is a uniform dispersion, okay? That is a uniform dispersion. All right, that was actually pretty tough. So, yeah, I can see why a lot of us missed those. So don't be discouraged. This is hard. That was a tough one. I didn't give you an easy one on that one. So I'll probably give you an easier one on the test and then maybe a harder one too. So if you're not at an A level, okay, then this would be a tough one for you. So I'll get you an easier one for you that can show me that you're, maybe at a C or a B. So and then I'll get some harder ones. Got to challenge you too, right? Some of you are like wizards. All right, so we're using this graph to answer 12, 13, 14, and 15. All right, we did it right. Most of us got this one right. We did this in class a couple times. So basically, you got a population growing. It looks like it's growing pretty fast, but it's hard to say because no time is specifically given. It's growing, and then it grows to the top, and then it starts lowering, and then it kind of stabilizes here. So I'm asking for your carrying capacity. I expected, and we did this on the whiteboard, and kind of half the class put 100, and kind of half the class would put 80. So that's what I expected the answers to be. If you put 20 or 40, I don't know why. If you put 40, hopefully you're thinking, well, there's a box there. That must be the carrying. No, don't think like that. That's just, you're not, no. Anyway. All right, so carrying capacity is how much it can support, not how many you can cram in. Okay, so I have a fish tank, and I can fill it with fish. I just stuff them. I pack them in. I get hundreds in this thing. That's great, but a lot of them are going to die. Okay, they're going to die down. Eventually, it's going to stabilize to where they can kind of live. The stabilizing number, the amount that can live healthily, is your carrying capacity. So let's apply that to this graph. We got an increase. They're like, hey, everything's great. Oh, we're all happy. Yummy, food everywhere. Oh, lots of space. Yep, and now we're all dying. And they start going down, death rate increases, and they stabilize right around here. There's very little population change. So that would be your carrying capacity right here. It's about 80. So you might have said 80, 77. So Mr. Adling, I think it's more like right here, a little bit under 80. That's great detail. I might agree with you. But 80 is your closest answer, so we're going with 80. It's carrying capacity. Do not go into the test without understanding carrying capacity. Okay, that's a biggie. A biggie. All right, anyway. Okay, graph to the left is more likely a population of an ant than a giraffe. So, what do we have here? An ant is an R strategist. Giraffe is a K strategist. That's what I was going for. Ants, K strategists, ants R strategists are going to populate very quickly, and they're going to maybe die very quickly. So, an ant population runs out of food. Okay, they populated because they found a bunch of sweet tarts on the ground and fed a bunch of them. Well, they live very short lives and they die very easily. But ants can go from here to here in like a day. So an ant population would go up and down very quickly. Okay, where a giraffe, okay, giraffes are K strategists. They have a long lifespan. Okay, you're not going to get, 1,000 giraffes born in a day. All right, that's a lot. I mean, you could have 1,000,000 insects in a day. Giraffes, you're probably not getting more than a handful. Okay, so they're going to be stabilizing. They are going to live right around their carrying capacity. You won't get this in a giraffe population. Hold on, let me erase. This is unlikely. Giraffes are, oh, look at that! Giraffes just went up huge one day and then died. Okay, this will probably not happen. Okay, giraffe population is going to be pretty steady. Now, unfortunately, sometimes these things end up going like this because they become hunted or we destroy their environment. So you can get ones where they crash. 99.9% of everything on Earth has gone extinct. That's depressing. All right, so 14. Here's what puzzled me. 28% missed number 12, but 37% missed 14. They're the same question. Okay, so that confused me. If you got 12 right, you should have got 13 right. Because you told me that the carrying capacity, it's getting a mess here. I know it's like, whoa, erase, please, erase. Please, maybe I can use my selector tool. Get that, nope. That's just horrible. Look at that. I can't do anything about it now because it's erase. Oh, that was supposed to be an eraser. I just made it, yes! Sorry, you have to watch this. This is not good footage. I am wasting your time. Mr. Eibling, every minute is important. I know, this is not a good minute. Okay, hold on, I'm going to pause it. All right, I figured it out. I dragged it away and then destroyed it. It was actually pretty awesome, so I'm pretty happy. This is a new update, so yeah, if you told me that carrying capacity up here was 80, then you should have obviously seen that it went over carrying capacity. All right, so it is definitely true. So sometimes it tells me that you really don't, not you, but some of us aren't really thinking. We're not really thinking, okay? We're not using logic, or we just guessed and just happen to guess right better on the other one. I don't know, but think each question through. 15, 62%. All right, so this was a toughie, and I knew it was a toughie, but I really like this question. I really do. I made it. Okay, which is most likely happening in point A in the graph above. So point A is right here, okay, right there. Well, stick to things that you know, okay? Because a lot of things could be happening there, but we don't have a lot of information. The answer is A, first of all, I'll just tell you. A limiting factor is something that prevents population from getting bigger. Limiting factor is right here, okay? This is where your limiting factor, this is where the population can't get any bigger. So let's say the limiting factor is food, okay? At this point, there's still enough food for the population to grow bigger. Here, okay, this is the max amount of food. So once they get here, they are limited by the amount of food. So we know that it's not met its limiting factor. Okay, if it had, it would look like this. If A, the limiting factor was hit, the graph would be down here, but it's not. Limiting factor is not still up here, so that is definitely right. The other ones, you have to use, you don't know. Okay, you don't know that more rainfall and food is available here. Okay, you just don't know. That's a guess. More than what? More rainfall and food is available than what? Than here, okay, or here. Okay, there's just room to grow, okay? Plus, if there was more room here, eventually that rainfall is going to slow down and you're gonna get a population drop. So if this was an added rainfall, added resources, then when it goes down, you'd expect a drop. Habitat size is increasing. How do you know that? Okay, you just don't know that. Plus, habitat size is increasing. They haven't met their carrying capacity yet, so there's still plenty of room here anyway. And you can't be an R strategist phase. You're either an R strategist or a K strategist. Mr. Eibling, there's an exception. There probably is, but it's not like you just switch on your R strategy and then switch off. So C was just never. Okay, that's just a guess. That was one of those where I just couldn't come up with another answer, so I just made something up. Which best describes how energy is transferred between trophic levels? This is the same question as that little question with the arrows. Energy is lost. Okay, we know energy is lost. This one is just wordier. Okay, this is a wordier, so I made it a little tougher. So this is like more of an A or B level question. Less energy is available at higher trophic levels due to heat loss. Bam, there it is. Okay, that's it. The other ones are wrong. Okay, energy is lost and there's less in the high levels. So I'm not going to go over the wrong answers on that one, because that one's, I think it's pretty straightforward. Plus, I don't want to make this thing 2 hours long. All right, go to the next slide. All right, let's do it. Whoa, that was an accident. My bust. I wanted to kind of drag this. Which of these best describes an R strategist? Okay, you have two types of strategists, R and K. Okay, so if you don't know, remember, the point of this is if you didn't know what an R strategist was, okay, that should say, boy, I need to figure out what an R strategist is before Monday and Tuesday. All right, so I gave you a sheet. Remember, you can always just Google stuff. If you Google R strategist, chances are you're going to find some decent info. There's not a lot of people posting bad info on R strategists, okay? All right, trust me. Which of these best describes R strategists? So I wanted you to think R, rapid. Okay, rapid population growers. K, carrying capacity. Okay, so they grow till around their carrying capacity. So what kind of things would grow rapidly? Okay, you want to be small, you want to be able to develop quickly, and make a lot of offspring. So which one best sounds like that? So that means three are going to be either K strategists or made up. So let's find the right answer first. Sometimes I think I babble. You just give me the answer. An organism with a short lifespan that slows down its breeding at carrying capacity. Nope, does not slow down its breeding. It doesn't care. It eats everything. Small organism that breeds over carrying capacity and has dips in population growth. Yep, so if I had to graph it, that would look like small organism that breeds over carrying capacity and has dips in population growth. Yep. So they feast and famine. They eat everything and make more babies, thousands, millions at a time, and then all the food goes away and they pretty much all die off. But that's okay because they can make 1 million more in a week. Okay? You know, kangaroos can't make 1 million in a week. All right? They have to have a different strategy. So there's your answer. Stable populace. Stable means steady. These are your K strategists. Okay, if you're a giraffe, okay, you have to be pretty steady. You can't drop too low because you might not ever get your population high enough. Okay, so I don't know. I want to explain more, but oh, I just got a text. Wait. Sorry, I just got my grandma. Okay, I gotta stop. I might have a. Okay, this might be my grandma. She's. Okay, I'm back. I'm not sure where I left off. Sorry, a little flustered. I think my grandma's. My grandma's dying. So I might not be here next week. I might be back home. But anyway, the show must go on. So I'll do my best. I might be a little distracted. She's like 95. She's a trooper. So you know. Little side note, little life lesson throw in here. I don't want to forget totally about my grandma. Think, oh, how could you go and teach when your grandma's basically she's not going to make it through the night. She lived for 95 years, good years too. So you kind of just keeping my eye on the phone. She was in the hospital, so I was ready. But you're never really ready. You know, I actually been lucky. Just. You can fast forward to this if you just want to get to it, but I feel like I need to talk about my grandma a little bit. You know, by the time this video is over, she might be passed away. So I'm going to devote the rest of this video to my grandma, trooper. So I've been lucky. I'm 35, and I, as of right now, still have 3 grandparents left. 3 grandparents who are like in their 90s. So I can't complain. You know, that's good. I've been very fortunate. So we'll talk about genetics second semester. I had some strong genes. You know, I got some longevity genes, so I feel good about it. So I got to thank my grandma for those genes she gave me. So thank you, Grandma, for the genes. Some of the genes we've done without some of them, but we're anyway. All right. So Grandma, this one is for you. I know you would want me to finish my video because, you're a hard worker. You know, she worked hard. The Germans known for their non-emotions and hard work ethic. So, this test is going on. All right, this test is happening. So I can't let this get in our way. So, Grandma, thank you much for. Without you, I would not exist. Okay, I would not exist. I would not be me without. I'm 25% of my grandma. 25% of all the DNA in your body basically comes from each one of your grandparents. So, there's a little biology lesson there. So, Grandma, thank you for your 25% of your genes. I think they were probably a good quarter. So I'm going to do my best to make you proud. of those genes you gave me. And who knows, maybe she gave me my skills to do biology questions. All right, so there we go. I got it out of the system, and now I am focused and ready to describe, talking about, what are we talking about, mutualism? Mutualism. Did I answer number 17? I did. All right, mutualism. Mutual. That's a word that, you probably have heard it. It means together. So sometimes things work together. We see a lot of videos of horrible things animals do to each other. They rip them apart, they suck on their blood, but sometimes they help each other out. Not because they're nice, but because by helping them, the other thing helps them in response. Okay, it's funny how that works, like a flower. Okay, the flower makes itself attractive and it produces all that sugar, all the tasty fruit. Is not for the flower, it's not for the plant. It's wasting all that energy to get eaten by a bug or a bird. Okay, it's not because it likes the bird and it wants it to eat it, but the more that they feed off the flower, the more of the pollen that can get on the bird and go help it reproduce. So they're both benefiting. It's not because they're friendly and nice, okay? No. And this is often how people do things too. Where a lot of times we think we're doing nice things for people, and we are. But if you really think about it, you're doing nice things for people a lot of times because being nice to other people, it helps you with something in the long run. I think there's some people that are generally just really nice. I'm not one of them. I'm not a generally, I'm nice. I do nice things, but I still have selfish reasons a lot of times for my nice things. So like, this is a nice thing, making me this video. All right, this is a nice thing I'm doing for my class, but I'm benefiting from this. All right, it's not me just saying, great kids, I benefit from you doing well. I'm happy when you do well. So it's a mutualism. You do well, I'm happy. So even though I'm doing nice things, might be doing extra work for you guys, I'm benefiting. That's mutualism. All right, so yeah, there we go. Two things benefit. So I just, hopefully by my little spiel there, figured out that both benefit. That's mutualism. By comparison, we have parasitism, which is one bad and one good. So like a flea, who sucks blood out of your ankle when it bites you. Flea benefits. Okay, you just lost some blood and you're itchy. Buggers, so yeah, you let your dogs out unless, I don't know, fleas out here, I'm not familiar with the ecosystem out here. In Illinois, fleas, we got a lot of trees, so the more bushes you have, the more fleas and stuff you're going to get, but anyway. All right, this one was a little harder. 75% of us missed it. Some of you might have just looked at this and were like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. Look at all this. I have no idea what this is going to say. It's too much. I don't even know what this is. You probably have not really thought about this too much. I mentioned it a couple times, but I'm not necessarily had this question in mind so you had memorized what double energy mutualism was. The idea here is to apply the idea of mutualism where both benefit and then look at the other words. Remember, ecology, if you look at the words, they will tell you what they mean. Okay, so someone could have never taken this class at all and got this one right just off figuring out what double energy mutualism, just each word, what it means. So both are benefiting. Energy, so their double means two, so both are getting energy to help them. So which one describes two getting energy to help each other? Let's look at the first one. Yep, so the clownfish here is getting energy by eating the predators. But the sea anemone is not. Okay, so there's not double energy. I think I might have reversed that, but that's not the answer. Okay, both are not getting fed. So we're looking for things that are getting fed. See, a bird travels with a buffalo, eating the parasites off it while the buffalo receives the benefit of parasite removal. The bird is getting energy, and the buffalo is not. It's getting cleaned. Now, this is why I like when you guys ask me questions, because sometimes you guys have ideas that are really interesting that I never think about. So I think this is Michael. Michael from my 6th hour. He's like, Mr. Isley, I'm thinking it might be C or D, because C, the bird is getting energy, but the buffalo has less parasites on it, which means that it's not losing the energy the parasites are sucking off it. I was like, that's awesome. I'm like, if you got this question wrong and you explained that to me, I would be like, that's great. You definitely getting it right. So sometimes you guys can be smarter than me. I'm not the smartest person ever. I'm smart. But collectively, you guys come up with some great ideas. So that was really cool. That's why I like doing this. All right, but a leaf cutter ant, we saw this in class. This was the ants shredding leaves to the fungus. So they shred the leaves to the fungus, which is underground. That's underground, okay? Down here, underground. And then the shredded leaves help this grow into a mushroom. Now, since the fungus has energy to grow a mushroom, well, now the ants are going to eat the mushroom. And the ants are going to get fed, and the fungus is getting fed from the shredded leaves. So they are both helping each other out. They're not trying to help each other out. They just know that if they do this, good things happen. Okay, so they just keep doing it. It's really neat. It's amazing what they do sometimes in nature. All right, that was good. All righty, let's go to the next one. All right, I got to strategize a little here. Oh, I think I did this a little out of order, so I skipped a page, but I don't know how to fix that. So I got to strategize a little bit on this one. So we were taking the text from here and answering these questions. So I'm going to try to like bounce the text back and see where you can find it and all that. So it's a good idea to read it first and then answer the questions instead of just hunting. I know that's what we're going to do. We're trained to hunt for the answer instead of actually reading, but actually kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to hunt for an answer. So I'm being hypocritical. I don't want to read the whole thing on camera. All right, a little blurry, but we can make do. Okay, so which of the following is not an abiotic factor listed in the boreal forest? 70%? 76 missed it? Maybe it's just the reading, possibly. Abiotic, that means non-living. So which is not a non-living thing, okay? So that means one of these things is living. Now, you don't need to know necessarily what a sedge or a bog is. It will tell you. So let's look at bog. 30% of North America's boreal forest is covered in wetlands consisting of bogs, fens, marshes, and lakes. Okay, so it's describing like physical habitats. Okay, so bog, fen, marsh, wetlands, lakes, rivers. Bogs is abiotic. Okay, it's not living. Okay, so we can get rid of that one. Mountain ranges. Just don't have to look. You know the mountain's not alive. Okay, if you thought a mountain was living, see me. 6 hours of sunlight. Sunlight is a factor, but it's abiotic. Okay, that's a big factor, but it's not living. So sedge. You probably don't know what a sedge is, but that's okay. This will tell you. Energy, let's go right here. Zoom in. Energy from the sun is harvested by many trees and small plants known as sedge. So it's a plant. So sedge is a biotic factor. Booyah, one down. Nothing tricky. Just read carefully. It's all there. I won't give you a question that you had to reason here. Okay, it's there. I don't want you to think, boy, I need to know what a sedge is. I don't know what a sedge is. I'm done. I'm quitting. This is stupid. Don't do that. All right, don't shut down. You're smart enough. Figure it out. Okay, be tough. Be a warrior. Which of these would be a primary producer in the boreal forest? Man, 61% missed this. Primary producer. Basically, which one's a plant? Basically, which one is a plant? All right. If you've ever heard of a shrub, you should already know it's a shrub. But if you didn't know what a shrub is, let's find out. All right. So, shrew. Okay, shrew's down here. It's a little mammal, so it's not a plant. A bog. Did we do bog? Bog is like a wetland, not a plant. Aphid. Eat only plants. Okay, so aphids eat plants. Chances are it's not a plant. Okay, plants generally don't eat other plants. That would be awesome, but no. All right, so by process of elimination, we got shrubs. So let's just double check. Always good to double check. Shrubs. Where are you, shrubs? It's in here. Did I not highlight shrub? Well, I'll look for it, but it's the answer is shrub. It's a tree. I'll look for it, but I'll go back to it. Sorry about that. It's a shrub. Where is it, stupid shrub? I'm going angry. Not grub. It rhymes with shrub, but we're not looking for grub. Grub's like a little worm. So anyway. Oh my gosh, 88% almost missed this. It's the highest trophic level the bear would be in. All right, so now you might have just saw a tertiary consumer, like that's the highest. Okay, but the bear is not necessarily a tertiary consumer. So the answer was secondary consumer. Mr. Eibling, how the heck do I know that? You gotta do a little digging, okay? A little detective work. So let's go to black bear. I conveniently highlighted it for you. Bolded, I should say. Let's find out what bears eat. One of the larger mammals is the black bear. All right. When they are plentiful, the black bear likes to feed on berries in the forest. Oh, that's nice. When berries are not present, however, they will consume small mammals. Okay. So we got bear. Okay. And we got mammals, small mammals. Now we need to know what these mammals eat. Okay. We got to find out what these mammals eat. It makes a difference. What do they eat? I purposely put this in here. Feeds on plant-eating insects. Or no, they eat shrews. Okay, the shrew eats plants. So you got shrew and plant. All right, so now let's look at the bear. The shrew is a primary. Whatever eats the primary is a secondary. So the bear is a secondary consumer. All right, not a tertiary according to this. All right? It might be, but you'd be guessing. All right, don't guess. Which of the following is likely an omnivore? Which is an omnivore? Okay, that means plants and animals. You got to find something that eats plants and animals. And I think it just straight up says an earwig. Where are you, earwig? Nasty little bugger. Earwigs feed on a variety of plants and animals. Okay, so it says right there. There was one that kind of looks like it. Someone's like, Mr. Iving, there's 2 right answers. I looked at it and I was like, no. Where was it? No, not aphids. There was one thing on here that feeds. Oh, yep, shrew. Shrew feeds on plant-eating insects. So it doesn't feed on plants. It eats the insects that eat the plants. So a little trickier. But, all right, your answer is earwig. All right, almost done. And I'm gonna go to the bathroom here too. So, what's the habitat of the sedge? So, what kind of area of the ecosystem does a sedge live in? It's a plant. All right. So let's see. Cross off primary producer. That's not a habitat. Okay. That's not a habitat. So, wetlands, Rocky Mountains, or boreal forest. Okay. Boreal forest is the entire ecosystem. It's not a habitat. Okay. It's the whole gigantic forest. Okay. Sedge does not live in every part of the boreal forest. So does it live in the mountains or live in the wetlands? Let's go find out. Sedge, where are you? Sedge. I'm glad I'm not a sedge. Energy from the sun is a sedge. I'm right here. Sedges live in the boreal forest. Okay, so you might have thought right there. But that's the whole ecosystem. Okay, and prefer areas of wetlands. So wetlands is your specific habitat. Yeah, a little tricky, right? That is tricky. Yeah, slightly, but I want you to think. Right, that's the point here. It'll take time. It'll come around. It'll come around. We will come around. I promise you. That's why I do these. I don't give you easy stuff all the time because it's boring. I'm not making you thinking. The wetlands, insects, and rainfall make which of these? All right, we got non-living and living. Put those together, you get ecosystem. All right, everybody. That's probably a pretty long one. I can't see how long it is because it's in chunks. Obviously, I couldn't do that in class Friday. You probably see this Friday. Don't get frustrated. Don't get down. Oh, this is slide 4, so this is not the end of the video, actually. The end of the video is the next one, so you just... All right, I'll shut up. Okay, here we go. I think this might be a little out of order. Okay, I had to go back and fix some stuff. All right, so this is gonna be a little tricky one here. All right, so oh, you know what? We did all right on that one. Let's do it. Strategize. You're looking at a food web, and you're going to use the food web to answer these questions. All right, so we got a lot going on. We saw this one in class. Okay, so we're familiar with the web, but the questions are going to be different. That's a strategy I use a lot. I'll use things you've seen, but ask them in different ways. I very rarely use the same question twice. I don't want you to memorize the answer. Okay. All right, so we have this ecosystem right here. There's our ecosystem. And there are 3,000 energy units from the sun are harvested. So 3,000 slices of energy are harvested by the sun by the berries and the plantains. Okay, so what I suggest doing is getting this number in our producer box. Okay? Now, it's going to ask you some questions about, and actually, is it? It might, but anyway. It's a good time to practice this. So the next level is going to have 10%, so 30,000. Different ways you can do this. You can multiply by 0.1. You can divide by 10, or you can just knock down a 0 every time. Okay. Just if you're knocking down a 0 every time, just make sure you know why you're doing that, so you're not just being programmed to knock a 0 down every time. Because let's say these things have numbers like 4 at the end. Well, you can't do that then. So it helps to be able to know what you're doing. All right, so this is how much energy is available at each level. I don't think you really need that here, but it's handy to do that. The more you see it, the better. All right, which organisms would be in the level containing the lowest amounts of energy? So up here, yeah, I meant to say 3, 20. All right. These are going to have lower energy. Obviously, 30 is lower than 300. I think we got that down. So we want to find the organism on this that is the highest level up. All right, just get berries done. Berries are down here, okay? Berries have 300,000. Rabbit, okay? Rabbit is right, it eats plants, okay? So it eats plants, so it's right here. All right, now we got to see if anything's higher than rabbit. How about fox? Fox is probably higher than rabbit, right? They eat meat. So we got mouse and fox. And you want to check, too, other food webs, because it might be a higher consumer. Berries, titmouse, fox. Nope, still a secondary consumer, and that's it. So fox. All right. And let's check our titmouse, everyone's favorite. Titmouse, you might look at it and say fox. If I would see this, my first thing is fox. It's the biggest, right? It's a dog that eats things, right? And titmouse is just a little bird. Well, you know what? Titmouse is involved in a very intricate food chain. So this one's a little sneaky. You might say, oh, grasshopper, titmouse, second. It's going to be right here. No. All right, this is a little sneaky. Greenfly, ladybird, titmouse. So titmouse is actually a tertiary consumer. Okay, so it would be up here. So titmouse has the lowest amount. We did good on this, 29%. All right, that's over 70% right. And that question then was kind of tough, so I'm glad. That makes me happy. All right. 21, all right, 53, so about 50-50. I'm trying to think why we would miss it. My gut was, I was going to try to get you with 15,000 to bait you, because one of the most common mistakes that I saw, and I'll go over what that is. All right, so grasshoppers, here's our grasshopper, is a primary consumer, which means our grasshopper is right here. I know it's getting a little, let me make that grasshopper in blue. Grasshopper's right here. It's a primary consumer. Well, don't do this, okay? Grasshoppers, they eat this. They eat 300,000, okay? They feed from this level, which means there, if we did the pizza example, there are 300,000 slices of pizza to feed all our grasshoppers. The biggest mistake I've been seeing is we think that the grasshoppers feed here. I mean, it makes sense. They're at the level of 30,000. But that'd be saying, well, they eat other grasshoppers. That's where they get all their food from. No, you can't do that. You can't get all your energy from your own species. Your species would eat itself to death. Sometimes you might get to see some cannibalism, but that's not their primary food chain. So there are 300,000 units of energy available to grasshoppers. All right, so we're going to do some math. 300,000 slices of pizza. All right, that's the best analogy I think I've ever made. I really like it. There are 300,000 slices of pizza available to grasshoppers to eat. Each grasshopper needs 2 slices of pizza. All right, so just break it down. Let's make it easier. So you have 10 slices of pizza, and let's say each kid needs 2 slices. How many kids can you feed? You probably said 5. All right, that's the same question here, just with bigger numbers and grasshoppers. So now we got 300,000 slices of pizza, and each grasshopper needs 2 slices, or 2 units of energy. So you got 300,000 divided by 2. You don't necessarily need a calculator for this, because you have forced choice. You can just make a common sense choice. What's half of about 300,000? Okay, 150,000. Okay, 15,000 was half of 30,000. That's why I put 15,000 there, because I wanted to try to sucker you into this wrong answer, which I've been seeing a lot, and trying to you not to do. So we're going to go over this a little more tomorrow as well. All right, what is a tertiary consumer? That's your titmouse. Okay, so this is kind of weird. Okay, maybe you just didn't know what a tertiary consumer was. So to go back to our pyramid, got your producers. This is your PP. Oh, excuse me, this is your well, it's your primary producers. This is your primary consumer, secondary consumer, and then up here is tertiary. TT, tertiary means third, all right? Tertiary is third. It's your third eater. titmouse is your third eater. Okay, you got your, let's go back to the food chain. So follow me back up. You got your primary consumer, green fly. Secondary consumer, oh, the ladybird. I think this is like South American. I should look it up because I think they say ladybird, not ladybug. And then your titmouse is your tertiary. All right, so tertiary consumer. Okay. Which is an omnivore? I was hoping for better on this one. We did this one in class with the whiteboards. So omnivore. If you didn't know what an omnivore was, that's okay, but you better not show up on Tuesday and be like, I don't know what an omnivore is, because you're just going to get it wrong again. All right? You can't... know your vocab. Okay? I assume you know the vocab when I design questions. All right? So keep that in mind. I assume you know the vocab before I design a question. So an omnivore eats plants and animals. Okay? All right, so which one of these eats plants and animals? Remember, I'm not asking you... You could know nothing about any of these. Don't think, man, a buzzard, that would eat a plant and animal. No, look at this is tell you. Just go by this. Your answer is, I think it's the titmouse again. Yeah, I think titmouse has been a popular one here today. All right. So the titmouse it eats berries, which makes it a plant eater. Oh, it's an herbivore, Mr. Eibling. Nope, not necessarily, because it also eats ladybirds, which is flesh. So it's an omnivore. It eats plants and animals. All right, so there you go there. Cool. All righty. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. All righty. Just got the reading thing to do, and we'll wrap it up. I'm not sure how long this is. It's been like 4 chunks of long. So, all right. I'll shut up.